Hi, dear one. Lisa A. Romano here, the life coach. And today I want to talk about the law of attraction and how it is that you can create your own reality even if your life sucks today. So, what we have to understand is that this universe is a cause and effect place. So, dear ones, try to get it through your head that the universe is indifferent. The universe doesn't care. It's just sort of like if you own a restaurant, you don't care who walks through the doors. Your waitress's agenda is to figure out what this person wants to eat and then to go into the kitchen and then bring that person what they asked for. So if you walk into a restaurant and you don't know that it's your right and you have the ability to ask for whatever's on the menu, you don't. So that's basically how the world works. So it sounds very simplistic, and compared to what we've been taught to believe about how this universe works and how the world works, it is. So we've been taught that we're nothing. And so what happens when you're taught that you're nothing? When you come from a dysfunctional home, you're taught that your feelings don't matter. But guess what? Unless you know what you're feeling, you don't know what to ask for. You don't know how to walk into this place called the universe and say, I think I'd like to travel to Europe before I die. I think I'd like to sail around the world. I think I'd like to be a rockette. I think I want to be a nurse. I think I'd like to try to be a doctor. I think I want to get married by the time I'm 35 and have 2.3 children. If you've been taught that what you think, what you feel, and what you need is ridiculous, then you can't see this world for what it really, really is. You are a creator. You create unconsciously by default all day, every day. How do I know that? Okay, so how is it that if you were raised by narcissistic people, you do nothing but attract narcissistic people? Ever stop to think about why that is? It is no different, dear one, than why after we buy a red Volkswagen, we suddenly notice every red Volkswagen on the street because we're tuned up for it now, because it's part of our awareness. You cannot attract someone who's not narcissistic if your mind has no framework for someone who is kind to you. You're not set up for that. And so that is why out of so many times that I coach women who had fathers as alcoholics or moms as alcoholics, they grow up and they end up marrying an alcoholic. And when they met the man, he wasn't drinking. But within a year or 2 years or 20 years later, suddenly he's a raging alcoholic. He was always an alcoholic. He always had alcoholic tendencies. He was always a bit self-absorbed, always lived in denial, was always aloof. But so many of my clients, because they don't see the alcohol, they're thinking that's what they're avoiding. They're really not understanding that the attraction that's taking place is taking place on a quantum level. It's taking place on the thought level, on a wave level. Thought forms are wave forms. Emotions travel in waves, feelings, energy. Nothing goes to waste in this universe. Nothing. As a man thinks, so is he. What you reap, you sow. As it is below, so shall it be above. There is nothing that is not registering in this universe. So, dear one, even if your life sucks today, what I want you to do is understand that all today is a projection of what has been. That's all it is. It kind of freaked me out when I came to a point in my life where it was like, oh my God, my life is like a virtual reality game. My life, my physical life, was a manifestation of my childhood. So my physical life was running off of some program. There was something inside of me that was creating time and time again these situations and experiences and attracting of people who reminded me so much of the players in my childhood. And so when I really opened up my mind, I was blown away by the concept that life, when you're unaware, until you wake up, your life is like a virtual reality game. You're attracting people who are like mom and dad. You are in relationships that do not serve you. You feel ignored. Why? Because you've attracted someone who ignored you just like your mom and your dad did. If your dad beat up your mom and you're a female, then either if you're a female, you've attracted someone who does the same thing to you. It's a projection. It's running off literally a program in this brain through a schematic that was created by the experiences you witnessed as a child. How do human beings learn? How do we program children? We program children through three things: observation, consistency, and repetition. It is the over and the over and the over and the over of the witnessing and the experiencing that lays down this programming in this baby's mind, in our mind. And after the age of 12, what do? We think we know everything. So we take the show on the road and we start, we're running the ship. And what are we doing? We're attracting the same types of situations and experiences and feelings that we did when we were younger. So we are psychological beings. So we have this thing called the ego. The ego works to defend our wounds, protects our wounds, but it also acts like a veil. It actually prevents us from being able to see what we're protecting. So, for instance, my mom used to push me around all the time. I did not feel love, blah, 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 blah. Okay, my poor mom, the things that I've outed about her, it's terrible, but it's the only way I get to help other people understand how this world works and how, parent-child relationships affect individuals as they grow up. So forgive me, Mom. So I have a relationship with my mom. My mom's an adult child of an alcoholic. She was mentally, emotionally abused by her mom and dad. A lot of abuse happened to my mom. And so she doesn't feel love. So she has me, and she doesn't have love and understanding and unconditional love to give me because it's not part of her schematic. Okay, I grew up not feeling love. Okay, my mom says things like, oh, you and I just have a personality conflict. I have to love you. I have to like you. All this stuff is registering. I'm not lovable. I'm not likable. Okay. So now my ego gets really, really strong at the age of 12. My ego is I understand I have to go out and live in this world and protect these wounds now, right? That's the ego's job, is to protect and hide these wounds from the outside world, because the ego now it's registered that this world's not a safe place. I can't protect myself, or other people aren't kind, so they're not going to protect me. So I need to protect myself. From what? From having someone poke this wound, poke the bear. So I go out into the world. I now have what the world sees as a chip on my shoulder. Why? Because I'm so fragile inside, and I don't want you to hurt me. I don't want you to know that I have all these wounds, because if I do, I'm vulnerable and you can hurt me. So, but this is the deal. That type of thinking does offer us some sense of control. But what it does, it only helps us to recreate exactly what we're looking to fix. So what I did was I attracted bullies. I attracted wounding. My projection that the world is not safe and I need to protect myself. I kept manifesting over and over and over and over and over situations where I needed to defend myself from others. And so it wasn't until I was able to see my wounds and shine love and light onto my own wounds, until I accepted, like, these wounds are real and they're valid. And I stepped into a higher level of consciousness, a higher self-awareness, where I became the observer of the wound. You can observe your wounds, and you have the ability, we all do, have the ability to shine love and light on our own wounds and saying, damn, that hurts. Like, I didn't feel loved as a kid. I felt kicked around. I felt like I didn't belong. Boys made fun of me. They punched me. I was boy crazy, but boys always made fun of me. And that hurt when you're a little girl, So many things so many wounds that I experienced as a kid. And when I began to validate them, when higher self began to validate the lower aspects of self, the human self, the psychological self, that's when I began to integrate mind, body, and soul. And that's when I no longer felt the need to protect myself, because I realized that I was human and that my pain was valid. And then what I started to do was I started just wearing my wounds on my sleeve. Like, yeah, my mother's an unrecovered ACOA, and yeah, this happened to me, and yeah, hallelujah, this happened to me, and it's not my fault. And yeah, I've made mistakes, but not my fault. I was working under the veil of illusion. I did the things that I did in my life that I'm not proud of. I did cloaked in the idea that I wasn't good enough. And when you don't think you're good enough, you do bad things. And so I learned to forgive myself. And as I merged with higher self, I began to understand that God wasn't out there. God's in me. You know, whoever created this universe created me. I count. I matter. Doesn't matter how old I get, how saggy I get, how much cellulite I have, how gray my hair gets, how deep these circles get under my eyes. It's irrelevant. I am love and I am light. And so are you. And so it's not an easy pill to swallow when you realize that the mess your life is in is actually a projection. And it's what you've been projecting below the veil of consciousness. Now, dear ones, when you wake up and you say, oh, I know why I'm married to her, and I know why I'm married to him, and I don't want to be married like this anymore. You know, I want to live a more enlightened life. You have choices and you have options. So if you're very lucky, then you're dealing with a partner who, once you wake up, they want to wake up along with you. When I woke up, my husband was like, I don't have to change because you changed. I'm not going to change because you changed. And it was like, okay, backs up against the wall. I'm so sorry. You are the father of my children, but I can't live like this anymore. You know, I want to move forward with you, but this is your life experience that you're making choices for, and this is my life experience that I'm going to make life decisions for. And you're entitled to live your life your way, but I am also, as a soul, as an individual, you and I are not connected at the emotional hip, although codependency makes you feel like you are. And although your feelings are not my responsibility, although codependency makes you feel like they are. And although you have a right to feel your own feelings and I have a right to feel my experiences, although codependency taught me that I didn't have a right to feel my experiences and taught me to invalidate what I wanted, I'm willing to work on myself and live my own individual experience and let this relationship go in love and light because it has taught me what I've needed to learn. So, dear ones, you can create your own reality even if your life sucks today, as long as you understand that what's going on today is a projection of what happened to you yesterday. And until you wake up, you're going to keep recreating these experiences. I suggest to you that if you're in a codependent relationship and you're lucky enough to end that codependent relationship and get out of it, stay out of relationships for a significant amount of time. It is suggested that you stay out of a relationship for three months for every year you were in a relationship. So if you're in a relationship for 3 years that's codependent, you need to stay out of relationships for a minimum of 9 months. Okay, I stayed out at one point over 2 years out of relationships, just working on myself because I was devastated when I attracted a narcissistic sociopath after years of being divorced, thought I had my crap together, only to come into contact with a most vile man who convinced me that he was awesome. And when I realized how deeply, deeply, deeply he had deceived me and other women, I was devastated. And I was like, okay, I'm not there yet. And I licked my wounds for a long time, and I retreated, and I did a lot of work where I was absolutely committed to seeing what was going on with me. And this is what I discovered. I discovered that I could not attract unhealthy people until I started to love myself unconditionally. Love myself unconditionally. When I find myself screwing up, the first thing I do is recognize it, I register it, I let it go, and then I forgive myself. Okay, love myself. Okay, love, because that's the way I want to be treated. That's the way I want to be perceived. The more I love myself, the more I'm able to love you. The more I'm able to love the people that I see every day that I come in contact with. The more I'm able to love my husband and my animals and my children, and just the more I'm able to love life, the more I love myself. You see, that becomes the ultimate projection. So, dear ones, if you want to manifest love out there, you can't until you manifest love within. Until you get it straight in your head that you are absolutely love and light at your core. I don't care what you look like. I don't care what you've done in your life. I don't care if you're sitting in a jail cell right now. Irrelevant. People that do bad things generally don't think that they're worthy, don't think that they're capable of doing good things. And so I don't judge anybody. My goal is to help people understand what thinking got them into trouble and to help them move towards the light and love themselves. Why? So that, I mean, exponentially, if you love yourself and the world, everybody loves themselves in this world, this is an amazing world we can live in. Like, we can heal anything, anything with love. It's a great song. What the world needs now is love, but we need to clear that up. What the world needs now is self love, love of self, self acceptance. Because when we live in a state of self acceptance, then we can accept other people. And then the judgment stops, and then the guns get put down, and then the wars stop, and then cancer stops, depression stops, then dependency on drugs stops, because there's nothing to avoid. There's no reason to take a drug when you know that you are loved. No reason to avoid that you run to that. So, dear ones, I hope this has helped you understand a little bit more clearly about how serious you need to take the way you think, and how serious it is an issue that you truly are the creator of your own reality. And when you stop running from that reality and you start using the tools that I'm trying to teach you in your everyday, that's when your life really begins to shift, and you can have anything you want, dear ones, anything you want. Get clear about the fact that you're deserving first. Namaste. Please check my stuff out at www.healingselfesteem.com. My books are The Road Back to Me, My Road Beyond the Codependent Divorce, Loving Yourself Affirmations, and Quantum Tools to Help You Heal Your Life Now. If you're interested in the law of attraction stuff and how it relates to codependency and healing and recovery and addiction, check out Quantum Tools to Help You Heal Your Life Now. Namaste, everybody. Bye.